In 1940, Hitler's army seemed unstoppable, using the lightning-fast Blitzkrieg tactic to conquer Poland and rapidly advance through Western Europe. At that time, the German forces had not faced any major battle defeat, that is until Narvik. This is the town of Narvik, located in Norway. During World War II, it held immense strategic importance for both the Allied and German forces. This town and its waters saw 5 battles and became the place where Hitler and his army faced their first defeat. Let's explore the battles that took place here and why they were so essential. Nestled in the Arctic Circle, the town of Narvik in Norway became a critical hotspot during World War II due to its immense strategic importance. Despite its remote location, Narvik held the key to controlling a resource vital to the German war effort, Swedish iron ore. Sweden's vast iron ore reserves were essential for Nazi Germany's weapons and machinery production. During the harsh winter months, when the Baltic Sea froze over, the iron ore had to be transported via Narvik through Norway's ice-free port. Controlling this port ensured a steady supply of materials to Germany's factories. For the Allies, denying Germany access to Narvik was a chance to disrupt Hitler's war machine. If the iron ore shipments could be stopped, Germany's ability to sustain its military campaigns would weaken. This made Narvik a focal point in the early stages of the war. The tensions began with Germany's reliance on Swedish iron ore, shipped through the Norwegian port of Narvik. To secure this vital supply line and preempt a British blockade, Germany launched surprise operation in April 1940, an invasion of Norway. The Germans took Narvik on April 9, 1940, by sailing 10 destroyers into the fjord, catching the Norwegian coastal defenses off guard. The Norwegians had 2 outdated coastal defense ships stationed in the area. Both were quickly sunk after brief but intense skirmishes when the German destroyers opened fire. Afterward, the Germans captured the town and secured control with 2,000 Alpine troops, who had been covertly transported on the ships. The First Naval Battle of Narvik took place on April 10, 1940, in the narrow, icy waters of the Ofotfjord. Following the German occupation of Narvik on April 9, British forces acted swiftly to disrupt German operations and challenge their control of the strategic port. A flotilla of 5 British destroyers entered the fjord in the early morning, catching the German fleet off guard. The confined geography of the fjord made it difficult for either side to maneuver, forcing a close-quarters battle. The Germans, who had 10 destroyers stationed in the fjord, were at a disadvantage due to low fuel and limited supplies following their invasion the day before. The British destroyers attacked aggressively, managing to sink 2 German destroyers and severely damage others. Despite being taken by surprise, the Germans mounted a fierce defense, sinking 2 of the British destroyers before the battle ended. The engagement lasted several hours, leaving the German naval presence significantly weakened and many of their sailors stranded in the fjord. The 3 remaining British destroyers withdrew from the fjord after the battle, regrouping for future operations. This opening clash marked the first major Allied counterstrike in the Battle of Narvik, setting the stage for further confrontations in the days to come. The Second Naval Battle of Narvik took place on April 13, 1940, just 3 days after the initial clash in the Ofotfjord. Following the first battle, the remaining German destroyers were heavily damaged, low on fuel, and stranded in the fjord. Determined to finish the job, the British launched a more powerful attack to eliminate the German naval threat entirely. This time, the British deployed a stronger force, including a battleship supported by several destroyers, to confront the remaining German ships. The engagement began in the morning as the British fleet advanced into the fjord, using their superior firepower and coordination to target the Germans effectively. The Germans, though outgunned and outnumbered, put up a desperate defense, using shore-based guns and their remaining destroyers to inflict as much damage as possible. However, their situation was untenable. The British fleet systematically sank or disabled the remaining German ships, forcing any surviving sailors to abandon their vessels and retreat into the snowy mountains. The battle ended with a decisive British victory. The destruction of the German destroyer fleet in Narvik marked a significant blow to Germany's naval capabilities and disrupted their operations in Norway. Despite this success, the Germans retained control of the town and its surrounding areas with their Alpine troops, ensuring the fight for Narvik was far from over. The second engagement solidified British naval dominance in the fjord and underscored the critical importance of the waters around Narvik in the broader conflict. By mid-April 1940, the battle for Narvik shifted to intense ground combat in the harsh, mountainous terrain. With their destroyer fleet largely destroyed, 2,000 German Alpine troops under General Eduard Dietl fortified positions around Narvik. In response, Allied forces, including Norwegians, British, French, and Polish troops, launched offensives to encircle and drive out the Germans. The campaign began with Norwegian troops attacking from the north and east, utilizing their deep knowledge of the terrain to pressure the German flanks. Meanwhile, British and French forces landed at Bjørkvik in an effort to cut off German supply lines and approach Narvik from multiple directions. These landings were supported by naval bombardments to weaken German defensive positions. The Germans, however, used the rugged geography to their advantage. They established strong defensive lines in narrow valleys and set up ambushes along steep mountain passes, forcing the Allies to fight for every inch of ground. Counterattacks were launched from fortified positions, often slowing the Allied advance significantly. Polish forces, renowned for their aggressive tactics, launched key assaults on the German positions near Ankens, southwest of Narvik, while French foreign legionnaires climbed icy slopes to outflank German defenders on the high ground. These coordinated attacks gradually forced the Germans to retreat closer to Narvik. Despite their slow progress, the Allies' strategy of encirclement began to pay off by mid-May. The Germans were cut off from reinforcements and supplies, leaving them increasingly vulnerable. The ground campaign culminated in a final push toward the town itself, setting the stage for its recapture later that month. By late May 1940, after weeks of grueling combat in the rugged mountains surrounding Narvik, Allied forces launched their final assault to retake the strategic port. The Germans, under General Eduard Dietl, were heavily outnumbered and isolated, with their naval support destroyed and supply lines cut off. Allied troops, comprising Norwegians, British, French, and Polish forces, coordinated a decisive offensive to reclaim the town. On May 28, the Allies stormed Narvik itself, encountering fierce resistance from the entrenched Germans. However, the combined pressure of the multi-pronged assault proved overwhelming. By the end of the day, the Germans were forced to abandon the town, retreating into the surrounding wilderness. The recapture of Narvik marked a significant victory for the Allies and the first time Hitler's forces had been expelled from occupied territory. Despite the hard-fought recapture of Narvik on May 28, 1940, the victory was short-lived. As the German invasion of France progressed rapidly in early June, the Allies faced mounting pressure to redirect their forces to defend the Western Front. Recognizing the shifting priorities, the Allies initiated a planned withdrawal, codenamed Operation Alphabet, to evacuate their troops from Norway. By June 8, 1940, Allied forces had fully withdrawn, leaving Narvik and its surrounding areas undefended. German troops, who had retreated into the wilderness following the battle, reoccupied the town shortly after. This marked the end of the Allied campaign in Norway and solidified German control over the region for the remainder of the war. However, this was not the end of the fight in Norway. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share and comment. Stay tuned for our weekly military video posts.